It's time for breaking bread with Papa. Hey, don't you know? Hey, it's our goal. Hey, it's time for breaking bread with Papa. Hey, don't you know? Hey, it's also a show.
Hey, everybody, welcome to another edition of Breaking Bread with Tom Papa. I am Tom Papa. Thank you so much for joining us at the table. Once again, we've got a great show for you today. We have a real-life chef and food personality, Pati Jinich. She is a host of a show on PBS called La Frontera, which is an amazing show all about the border between Mexico and the United States. She has a new book called The Treasures of the Mexican Table that is amazing. And she really, she's such a great personality to begin with. I was so excited to talk with her. And she just has such a great way of breaking down the two cultures because she grew up in both. And she takes all of the preconceptions that we have on both sides about each other, breaks them all down using food as the bridge, and you're going to love this one. And she also helps me out with Thanksgiving, which is a big help. We would like to thank the people at Moinkbox. Moinkbox, great service. They are they deliver grass-fed and grass-finished beef and lamb, pastured pork and chicken direct to your door, helping family farms become financially independent and also give you dependable food. The best bacon, the best steak, the best chicken you'll ever eat. You can eat quality meat and support family farms. It's a win-win. Go to moinkbox.com/papa. That's moink, like oink, moinkbox.com/papa, P-A-P-A, to get a year of bacon for free. Did you hear that? Bacon for free for a year. And pick what meats you want delivered in your first box. That's Moinkbox, moinkbox.com/papa for a free year of bacon when you sign up. Thank you, Moinkbox. We also want to thank our good friends at Dadgrass. Dadgrass, that's right. This one is right up our alley. Dadgrass is legal, organic, smokable hemp that relaxes your body and mellows your mind. 100% organic, pre-rolled joints that are very low in THC and high in CBD. Excuse me. I'm coughing on my Dadgrass. So you can enjoy the effects of CBD while still having a clear head. Look, I've talked about this before. There are times when you hear about legal weed, you think that's fun, but I'm a dad now, and I can't do it. I need something more mellow. I'm sorry, I'm dying. Dadgrass products are federally legal for ages 21 and over. Ships right to your door anywhere in the U.S. Whether you're looking for a new buzz or a chill way to enjoy an old favorite, Dadgrass will leave you in a euphoric mood. Go to dadgrass.com/papa. That's dadgrass.com/papa, and you get 20% off your first order. 20% off your first order when you go dadgrass.com/papa. P-A-P-A. Dadgrass. It's almost like they made a product with me in mind. Thank you so much for being here. Like I said, we have a great interview with Pati Jinich. She's such a talent, and she really is she's the example of why I love doing this show. Just using food as a bridge and a way to open up minds and open up cultures, and she's just a delight. You're really going to love it. I'll give you a little spoiler. In the middle at a certain point, she helps me out with a side dish for my Thanksgiving table, because growing up living in Southern California, it's hard to think of just doing Thanksgiving completely with your East Coast recipes and East Coast traditions. I mean, look, I'm not gonna throw those away, but you should have. I feel like I always should have some kind of Mexican, Southern California flair, something at the table that calls out why we're grateful and thankful for being in this part of the country. And she helps me with it. And that got me, of course, excited, because we're only a couple of weeks away, 3 weeks away from Thanksgiving. And I did some prep, and I think this is a good time for you to do some prep as well. Go into the pantry. I'll just tell you what I did. And this is me just being maybe a little insane, but I get very excited about this meal. First off, there might be a turkey shortage, supply chain shortage. So heads up on that. I've already ordered my turkey because I have a big crowd coming this year. So I needed a big ass turkey. And I've already ordered it and locked it in because I started to panic. What happens if you get to the point where there's no turkey? And I actually lost my mind because I looked it up on Whole Foods, and they were just showing pictures of turkey breast in a package. I was like, oh no, the end of the world is here. We're really down to just sliced meat at this point. It was just me being a moron. I found the turkey. They're out there. It's no reason to panic. But this is time to kind of start dialing it in. Take all of your knives and either sharpen them yourself if you have a good way of doing that, or wrap them up and bring them to your local knife sharpener. There is a great guy by me. He just lives in his house and likes sharpening knives. And you wrap your things up in a towel and you bring them over and put them in a bucket over his fence. And you come back later on and you have all your knives sharpened. It's not a joke. You don't do it at all during the year. This is the time to do it. Gather up the knives that you're going to use. Get them all sharpened. Look for your roasting pan. If you're going to put your giant turkey in that one thing, that roasting pan that you only use on Thanksgiving, it's time to take stock of all of that stuff. Where's the roasting pan? Where is the gravy boat? Who's making gravy in the middle of a Wednesday in July? Nobody. Who's sitting poolside with some gravy boats next to them at the lounge chair? Nobody. So where is it? You think you know. You probably don't. Go out and find your roasting pan, find your gravy boats, sharpen your knives, and start taking stock. There's also things that you probably overbought last year that are still good that are in the pantry or in your garage or wherever you keep all of your stuff. Things like pumpkins, pumpkin spice, cans of evaporated milk, canned goods that maybe you don't need to buy this year because you've already bought them twice every Thanksgiving since you started cooking. And just it's a good way to like clean out everything. I found some old popcorn bags that had like 3 kernels left that my daughter just put back into the pantry. I found I think 25 boxes of Baker's chocolate that everybody here in this house who bakes buys every time they go to the store, and then just toss them, and then I organize them and found it's just a good way to see what's going on in there and just get a little prepped and start to get a feel for what you're going to need. If you have the people in your life that can't eat certain things, it's a good time to start thinking about that and how you're going to make those good people happy. Take a look at your wine. Take a look at what kind of wine you're going to be serving. I just took a whole thing through the liquor cabinet and dumped out old rums. I found like disgusting like bottoms of scotch, and I realized, oh, I don't have to have 700 bottles here. Half of this can be thrown away and replaced with some decent wine for when everybody comes over. Just take inventory at this point, and you will be very happy. And it's your first step. It's like, all right, it's not cold here in Southern California, but I'm traveling up to Vermont this weekend for shows, and Boston at the Beverly Center at the Cabot Theater, and in Beverly, Massachusetts. And it's going to feel like it's Thanksgiving over there. It doesn't feel like it here until nighttime, but it does feel as soon as you just start looking in the kitchen and and if you're going to visit somebody else, why don't you get your lazy ass up and try and make something? Maybe make the dish that Patty gives me in this thing. And I also think you should go get her book. It's called The Treasures of the Mexican Table. Mexico is a real treasure, and there's a lot to it. And we're told not to go, that we're going to be kidnapped, that going across the border is going to be something that you have to be a superhero to do. She really is. Her PBS show is great, called La Frontera. Just spend some time with that. And I say to her in the interview that I learned more watching her show than I have watching news over the last 5 years. Just a real understanding of the real story of real people on the ground. And Mexico's not that far away. And it's so many, calling the book Treasures is really appropriate because there's so much to it. There's so much to the culture. She's still learning it. So, of course, a kid from New Jersey is still learning it. Check it out. Listen to this interview, and you will open your mind and enjoy Pati Jinich. It's such a treat to meet you. I wasn't really caught up on your show until I went back on the road and started traveling. And whenever I'm traveling, I go to PBS, and I got to see your show, and I was sucked in immediately. It's no there's no surprise of why it's so successful.
Oh, thank you so much. It makes me happy that you watch it and mostly that you like it.
Yeah, I really do. And it's what's interesting about it is you come from both cultures, but you seem in the show to be learning almost as much as we are.
Yeah, it is. It's why I do so much, Tom, because in the beginning, when I first launched Patty's Mexican Table, I really wanted to share the Mexico that I missed, the Mexico that I know, the Mexico that I was homesick for when I moved to the US, and the Mexico that I wanted people to get to know. And I felt that they didn't know. But as the years went by, and I did Mexico City and I did Puebla and I did Oaxaca, which I was very familiar with. Then, and it was like sharing, with the audience, look, this is who we are, this is what I know, this is what I miss. But then it was like, wait, this is the Mexico that I don't know, this is the Mexico that I'm getting to know. And it was really fascinating because I really starting to get to know my home country much deeper once I moved to the US and I was an immigrant here.
Right.
And I had the veil of nostalgia and romanticism, but mostly I started meeting Mexicans from other parts of Mexico that I've never been to or never even thought to go to, because
Right.
the Mexican migrant community here in the US is so diverse. And
Right.
I started running, in the same city in the US, you can run into Mexicans from 10 different states. And
Right.
so you're hearing different accents and you're learning about the 10 different ways in which they cook rice. And so it was like, wait, I've never been to Zacatecas. I've never been to Campeche. And so my hunger to get to know the Mexico that I didn't know and that I felt removed from because I was already here really made me take a spin with the show and say, okay, we're venturing together
Right.
to get to know my home country. And it's changed the way I view Mexico and the world. And it's changed the relationship that I have with my audience, which is my community and like my extended family. Because now I feel like we really have a true close connection in that we're exploring and learning together, and they get as surprised as I do.
How did it change your perception of the country?
Well, it really humbled me, Tom. It just made me realize how little I knew.
Mhm.
I come from a academic background. I wanted to be an academic. I um, came out of college with a political science degree, and then I did a master's in Latin American studies, and then I worked in a think tank. And I really
Wow.
I'm a researcher at heart. I wanted to be an academic and write research policy papers.
Right.
And I thought I knew a lot about Mexico. It took me 3 years to do my dissertation, which was all about federalism in Mexico. So it was a deep dive into the regional and state differences,
Right.
each of Mexico. So I thought I knew a lot,
Right. Yeah.
And then you realize the more that you travel and you meet people that reading is not the same as being there, and
No.
research is not the same as being there. So it just changed my perspective, and it made me realize that no matter how many times I go to Mexico City,
Right.
I will continue to learn more and more and more because there's the classics that continue
Right.
to be passed on, but then there's the new things that are popping up. So it's like, I could have another 100 years of life,
Right.
which I
Yeah.
won't. And not satiate my
Mm-hmm.
thirst to learn more, and that appetite has expanded as the years have gone by, because it's like I didn't know enough. I don't know enough about Mexico and I want to learn more. But then I've been in the US over 20 years.
Right.
My three boys were born here. As the years have gone by, I've strengthened my roots to my home country, but
Mm-hmm.
I've grown really deep roots to this country.
Right.
And
Right.
now I want to know all about the evolution of Mexican food here in the US, and the
Right.
communities and immigrants, and not only Mexicans but Latinos. And it's just like now
Yeah.
my hunger goes like south of the border, north of the border, and right at the border, which was one of the biggest reasons why I really was obsessed with embarking on this new project called La Frontera.
Yeah, it's amazing. It really, I mean, first of all, it's amazing that you're definitely, it makes perfect sense that you're a researcher at heart because you are. I mean, in these short conversations, in these short things that you're showing us, I've learned more from your show than anything that I've understood about the border. Just speaking, I want to get back to the food, but talking about just about Frontera, I've learned more from that show than I have any of the news that I've been digesting for my adult life. I mean, it showed me what a small understanding we really, really have, unless you live along the border.
Yeah, that was our main goal. We really, when we started researching, um and planning and visiting and meeting people from the border, like the goal was really really to get a slice of life, like a
Hmm.
slice of the pie. You can't, of course, share everything or learn or experience everything, but we wanted one slice
Hmm.
that showed what life at the border is like, without an agenda, like
Right.
without saying, oh, this is good or this is bad or this is right or this is wrong, because you realize when you get to the border, the labels and the categories as we know them to be
Hmm.
get really blurry, and they don't apply there.
Yeah,
So
there was that rancher and his wife, and they said they didn't even grow up with the concept of a border.
exactly, exactly. And you're at the border and you have, Tano with his wife, and she's like the only white American, like the 2-3% of the Laredos, and the majority are Hispanics. And so it's like many things get topsy-turvy,
Right.
and turned
Yeah.
upside down, and you realize that it's not good or bad, it's just ease,
Hmm.
and people really learn to negotiate with their identities, with
Right.
their Mexicanness, with their Americanness, with the English, with the Spanish, with um the values and laws and customs of both countries. They can
Right.
turn the switches as they go from one side to the other, but then it's not only American and Mexican. It's the border is really a magnet for all nationalities, all cultures, all religions. So there are Syrian, Lebanese, there's Haitians, there's Cubans, there's
Right.
Japanese, there's Jews, there's Catholic, there's Muslim. I mean, and the way that cultures and identities converge at the border
Hmm.
is very freeing. It's very liberating, 'cause
Yeah.
you don't have to be explaining yourself all the time, because everybody there
Right.
has a combination of one thing or another. And
Right.
I felt so at home there.
Yeah. Oh, I could imagine after you've grown up on both sides and being a part of both worlds, it has, I mean, you even say that in your intro, it has to be kind of comforting. Like, oh, This is how, and it makes perfect sense. I mean, it's such a strange concept when you come out on the map and you see that someone put a line there. And
Yeah.
how do you expect that to be different from the people all the way up here to Los Angeles down to Mexico City? It's not natural.
And I have to tell you, there are really common denominators, I would say, that I found. And of course, I have to learn a lot more. And I can't wait to go back and do the other side of the border. Because now we did from El Paso to Brownsville. And I really want to go back and do from El Paso to Tijuana, you know?
Right.
But it's just, you realize that you can go back 1,000 times and you'll continue learning, but also that the commonalities are people are very open, adaptable, generous, accessible. It's very ironic, or I don't know if the word is sarcastic, Tom, because just as much as the region and the borderlands and the people there are misjudged and labeled so narrowly, when you're there, people are so like forgiving and accessible and adaptable, and they don't judge one side to the other, and
Right.
it's all from the outside in. But
Yeah.
people there are warm, and
Right.
they like they let us into everyone's home. And I really wanted to just say, hey, it's an honor for me to be here. Here's a microphone. Share
Right.
your story. We don't want to edit in which one way or another.
Right.
We want to hear what you have to say. And we
Yeah.
want to live the life at the border, if only for a few days. We want to
Yeah.
experience it so we can share. And it was like mind-boggling how little we know. Not only the US, Mexicans too. Mexicans really misjudge the borderlands.
Right.
It's like very removed. We feel I come from Mexico City. We feel like northern Mexico is not even Mexico anymore. It's like
Right.
the other frontier is like, is that the US? No. Is that Mexico? No.
Right.
It's so misunderstood, and it's so rich. People think about just that being like a desert or like a fence, but there's
Right.
jungles, there's SpaceX, there's rivers, there's
Right.
lakes where people swim and fish. It's
Right.
Big Bend is there, Marfa's around there. It's just really
It's
fascinating.
remarkable. It really is remarkable. I mean, we have it even here in the States. If you watch the news, like when there was all the unrest, and it was like you couldn't go to Portland. You couldn't go to Portland. Don't go to Portland. It's on fire. It's a hellscape. Don't even try it. And I had a show up there, and my daughter wanted to come, and I said, and it was in the middle of all of it. I said, let's go. Let's just see what the truth is. We got there. We were eating tacos at a truck. There was sunshine, people walking around. There was a couple blocks of trouble, and the rest of the city was just pleasant and joyful. And I find that so many times when you just show up. And
I think so too. You are so right. For example, we went to film to the border. It was the end of May, early June. And we kept pushing the trip because of the pandemic. We really wanted to go when the entire team was going to be able to be vaccinated. And when we knew that there was a certain degree of vaccination at the border, and where we could come with a production bubble where we could be testing ourselves and the people that we were meeting a day ahead and a day ahead. So to protect the people that we were going into their homes to, and to protect the team. And so we kept on pushing it, and we ended up going in the middle of June. And coming from Washington, D.C., you heard all these things about the border, oh, dangerous. Oh, COVID there is insane. Oh, the pandemic in El Paso, Juarez is ridiculous. And so people put all these fears in you. And I've lived with that all the time, because coming from Mexico City, I mean, every time I come up with a new season, if it's Mexico City or whatever it will be, I get emails from people asking me, Is it dangerous to go to Mexico? Is it dangerous to go? I went to Sinaloa even, and I'm like, I go anywhere because it's just like you. If you go to Detroit, people tell you don't go to Detroit. So
Yeah. Dadgrass. Dadgrass is legal, organic, smokable hemp that relaxes your body and mellows your mind. 100% organic pre-rolled joints are very low in THC and high in CBD. You just want a trace of THC. Sometimes you don't even want that. You just want to get that CBD good feeling just to take the edge off, but you don't want to be high as a kite and walking the cat instead of the dog. You still have to do your work at night. You still have to pick your children up at school. You have a lot of things to do. This isn't like being in college and just doing bong hits. All Dadgrass products are federally legal for ages 21 and over, and if it ships right to your door anywhere in the U.S. Whether you're looking for a new buzz or a chill way to enjoy an old favorite, Dadgrass will leave you in a euphoric mood. They're sending me some. We got on the phone and we started talking about how I love the idea. I was in college once. I know it's like to use marijuana. I don't do it anymore because I'm too busy. I got too much going on, but I would like to do something to take the edge off. And they're like, oh, well, we designed a company just for you. Right now, Dadgrass is offering our listeners 20% off the first order when you go to dadgrass.com/papa. That's dadgrass.com/papa, P-A-P-A, for 20% off your first order. That's dadgrass.com/papa. I guarantee you will enjoy it, and you'll be safe. Also, I'd like to thank the good people at Moinkbox. Moinkbox delivers grass-fed and grass-finished beef and lamb and pasteurized pork and chicken directly to your door, helping family farms become financially independent outside of big agriculture. This is such a great thing because if I eat meat, but I want to eat it and know where it comes from, and I don't want to be in big factory farms, and it's always hard to find. Like, you go to a farmer's market, how do you find these things? Well, leave it up to the people at Moinkbox. Their animals are raised in the great outdoors, and Moink meat is free of antibiotics, hormones, sugar, and all other junk that you find in prepackaged in the meat aisle. Sign up at moinkbox.com/papa, P-A-P-A, and get a year of bacon for free. The bacon that comes in Moinkbox, by the way, it's like you haven't really been eating bacon your whole life. It's big, and it's beautiful, and it tastes amazing, and you get free bacon for a year when you pick the meats that you want delivered in your first box. It's a nice package, it's easy to see, it's easy to use. You throw it in the freezer. I mean, why do 4 companies control 80% of the U.S. meat industry? That's not right, because big food crushes the little guy. Well, now you can help change that with Moinkbox.com. Join the Moink movement today. Go to Moinkbox.com/papa right now, and listeners to this show will get free bacon for a year. That's 1 year of the best bacon you'll ever taste for a limited time. Spelled MOINK box.com/papa, P-A-P-A.
you won't go to a certain area in Detroit at 3 a.m. You
Sure.
won't go to a certain area of Mexico City at 3 a.m. But you won't do that in New York City either.
Right,
And
anywhere.
we got to the border and we realized once you jump in that water that is getting these labeling, criticism, misjudging, once you get in that pool and you're swimming in it, you swim.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, right, exactly. And it's a decades long, or probably centuries long, misconceptions of different cultures. I mean, my wife and I honeymooned in north of Puerto Vallarta. It was this Hotelito Desconocido. It was like this.
Oh, I love that place.
It was great.
I've been there. Yeah.
I don't think it's there anymore, unfortunately. I think it's gone. But it was beautiful, this eco resort. And we just got in a car and we just drove through who knows what. And it's so funny and we had this wonderful time, and we were also this other spot. And in the time since then, it's just 20 years, my perception has changed, and I'm like, Could we do that now? Like, could we get in the car and do that? Or are people going to kidnap us? Or is it, can I go in? We love Mexico so much and we don't go a lot of times. And if we do go, it's you land in the airport, you get in a black car and they get you to the resort.
Yeah.
And then you're surrounded by white people and everybody calms down. and,
Yeah.
and it's really unfortunate because it's so rich. There's so much there.
Yeah. And really, like you can go to most places. It's just
Yeah.
a matter of getting the information, you know?
Right.
You know,
Yeah.
but I think the same happens in so many places in the world, right?
Everywhere. So
Yeah.
what was your, why did you frame it in food? Why were you taking us all on this journey from the very beginning with the food of the culture?
This is a really good question. I've learned that food and the kitchen and food and the kitchen are the most noble ways to communicate and to get to know people and to break down barriers or to remove veils.
Mm-hmm.
And I have found that both going inside and outside. Like as a Mexican from Mexico City, living here in the US with Mexican American kids, coming from a Jewish family who they were refugees to Mexico and, trying to make sense of all of my identities. It wasn't until I moved into the kitchen space
Mm-hmm.
that I was able to really free myself of preconceptions and do the research about the different immigration waves to Mexico and to the
Right.
US. And I find that one can understand things better when they put a plate of food in front of you, because immediately we're animals. We need to be fed. We get
Right.
hungry. We need to eat. And also, food is very primal in that when you see food, you connect to memories of someone fed you, you were nurtured at
Yeah.
some time.
Mm-hmm.
If you serve me, you can be from one political side and I can be from another. But if you invite me to your home and your nana is there and you share a bowl of her soup, I'm melting already.
Right.
I'm much more willing to listen the
Yeah.
stories that come tied and connected to the food. So it's just a way where we connect our human fibers,
Mm-hmm.
no matter what opinions, what judgments we have. And it's a way to really open up and have, just like art or music or poetry, I find that food, it's this little door that with the right key it
Mm-hmm.
unlocks a new path of communication.
Right.
So
Right.
I think it's very wise to try to use it and to connect us and to build more bridges. And I don't think there's a better way to deal with border themes,
Mm-hmm.
um and other themes that are very hot right now around the
Sure.
world. I think that with food you just open a door to better conversation and understanding, and you are willing to listen to people who or opinions that you would immediately get shut off or turned off
Right.
because,
Exactly.
oh, those tacos look yummy, why are they so
Right.
saucy?
Yeah.
So I love doing it through food. Food has allowed me to understand myself and my history better. And I believe it allows to share and connect with other people.
Right. It's so funny how you could be so similar and so different, because my background is Italian, so it's all of the Italian stuff in my pantry. Everything is all the ingredients for Italian meals that I learned from my family and stuff. And then when I watch you talk about food and talk to people in your show, it's it's the common denominator is, like you said, we were all fed. Like when everybody starts talking about when their mom did something or when their father used to make this thing or their grandfather used to make this thing, then it could be any culture. That's where it doesn't matter if you're Italian or Mexican. It's exactly the
We
same.
all want to feed the people we love. We all
All
need to
right.
take care of someone. And cooking and eating and feeding is a primal way. It's like I really have a hard time believing that someone doesn't connect through food. I have yet to meet someone who hates food, you know?
Right.
I know, I do know some people that see food more as fuel.
Right.
And
Yeah.
but regardless,
Yeah.
they are going to have one or another
Right.
dish that they can't resist.
Yeah. Yeah. You can
And
break them down.
you can break them down, and you're more, and I am more willing to have conversations with people that I would think I disagree with.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. So let me talk to you about a new cookbook that's going to be coming out soon. Treasures of the Mexican Table. There it is. Yes.
Yeah, I have the advanced
Good.
copy. And I was just last night, I was on
Yeah.
the phone with Rox Martin.
Mhm.
Rox Martin has been my editor for my 3 cookbooks. I have Patty's Mexican Table that came out in 2013.
Right.
And I had Mexican Today in 2016. And we were going to have this one, Treasures of the Mexican Table, come out in 2019. But then I kept on doing more research and more research
You can't
and more
stop.
research. And I was like, we need more recipes and we need another chapter. And until they said, enough, let's stop. And I was supposed to deliver 150 recipes. And I delivered 220, thinking, oh, they're going to be so thrilled. It's more bang for their buck. And they were like, no, Patty, we have a page count.
Oh, that's great.
I'm in love with his book.
It's so good. Now, let me ask you this and be honest with me. If you grew up as an Italian kid in New Jersey and that's all of your food is from that, and then you come to Los Angeles at a certain point and you start exploring what real Mexican food is other than the stuff we used to get in New Jersey, because now you're in Southern California and you're seeing and going down to San Diego and traveling to Texas. Is there any part of me that could be a good cook of Mexican food, or am I going to be missing some of the DNA?
Okay, I am here.
Oh boy.
Okay, so pasta seca or
Uh-huh.
fideo seco is the way that Mexicans, one of our favorite ways of eating pasta. So Mexican food is such a mother cuisine, just like Italian food or Chinese food or French food. You have me putting my glasses on. That we take ingredients. Historically, we've taken ingredients that have come through different immigrant waves,
Right.
and we've adapted them into Mexican cooking and give them our stamp. So the typical way that Mexicans eat pasta, which this is something that every Mexican has eaten at home.
What's the name of it again?
It's called fideo seco or pasta seca. It's called dried pasta. And that is because we take pasta typically like angel hair or vermicelli, something very thin, and we break it apart and we cook it with a little bit of oil and we toast it like as if it were risotto or fideuà.
Right.
And we toast it until it browns and it becomes a little bit nutty and it already changed its taste. And then we never boil it in water. After we fry it a little, but with a little bit of oil, we add typically a tomato sauce. And I know you're Italian, but you do know that tomatoes come from Mexico. So there's one place where we connect.
Really? They come from Mexico? I had no idea they had those
I
down
know
there.
you guys have taken them to a different level, but we love our tomatoes too. But so we make a tomato sauce.
Yeah.
Where we puree fresh, super ripe tomatoes with the skin and the seeds and everything. We add a little onion, a little garlic, and typically one chile or another. It can be chipotle in adobo sauce or ancho chile or some spices, oregano, basil. And then you add that thick tomato sauce to the brown pasta. And you let it cook in that generous amount of tomato sauce until the pasta finishes cooking in that sauce until
Oh,
the sauce thickens, seasons, sticky,
right.
chunky. It almost dries with the pasta. And of course, we do not do our pasta al dente. We kill it,
As
and
mushy as you can get.
as mushy as it can get. And it's this crazy, delicious mess. And then we dress it with Mexican crema, which
Mhm,
is tangy, salty, some queso fresco, which is
mhm.
again also like barnyardy almost,
Right, yeah.
fresh. And then you add slices of ripe avocado. And as an Italian,
Oh boy.
I think you would adore that. And then,
Oh God.
you have your meatballs. We have our albondigas.
Hmm.
And there's just so many foods that when people ask me, what is the food that after Mexican I love eating the most? And I say these not only for me,
Uh-huh.
but for my entire family. When we're not eating Mexican, the batalla, like the batalla is like something that you take to the battle, something that is going to help you
Uh-huh.
fight whatever you need to fight or combat
Right.
whatever you need to combat. When we're not making Mexican, we're making Italian. My
Ah,
kids love pasta, love Italian meatballs, love lasagna, love risotto,
right.
and it's so very similar to the way we eat. It's just not fussy or
Right.
it's just like you cook in a big pot and you bring that pot to the table and
Right.
everybody shares. And I think there's a big connection
Yeah. No, I love
of
that not being so precise.
yeah,
Not being so, like there's certain like French cuisine, it's like it's very you've got to
yeah,
kind of nail it, but you can kind of yeah, Mexican food very much so. It's similar to Italian, but there seems to be um a lot of differences in Mexican food that I still don't understand, that I still like the subtleties. Someone that grew up would know a little bit more
yeah,
about, that the differences and what to look for.
yeah. And all you need to do to get more acquainted is just cook a little more with more ingredients. Like when I
Hmm.
first moved to the US, you could only find fresh jalapenos, as far as
Right.
chiles over 20 years ago. And I was living in Dallas, Texas.
Right.
Um, Now you can find almost every fresh chile and so
Hmm.
many of the dried chiles. There's really, if you want to make anything Mexican,
Hmm.
you really can find most of the ingredients and the recipes. And the great thing about Mexican food is that it is so forgiving. If you make one thing or another and it really doesn't work out exactly, you just tuck it into a taco,
Right.
and all is good and all is well.
Yeah.
And there are so many regional differences. You have the
Yeah.
Yucatecan food. In this book, what I love is that, I have a map of Mexico here.
Yeah.
Um, it's 150 classic recipes that come from all over the country that have stood the test of time, that are heirlooms that have passed from generations to generations. And
Yeah.
some are older classics, some are newer classics, but are dishes that are easy, accessible, repurposable, because that's one really characteristic of Mexican food. You make chicken tinga one day, you eat it with rice. 2 days later, you tuck it into a torta or a quesadilla.
Right.
And,
Right.
but all of these come from different regions of Mexico. And I agree that it is so complex and so diverse and so rich, pretty much like Italian food,
Yeah.
that you could do one book with 500 recipes from just one region.
Right. No, absolutely.
The approach I took was, let me find 150 recipes that not many people know that
Hmm.
will enrich anyone's table on a Tuesday night, you
Right.
know?
Yeah.
And
What do you do for Thanksgiving?
oh, okay. So I have here. So we celebrate Thanksgiving with our same friends.
Hmm.
Since we moved to Washington, D.C., we have some dear friends from Mexico City who moved to New York City,
Right.
who come to visit here to Thanksgiving with their daughters, and they're the same age as our sons.
Right.
And then we have a couple of friends and their families who are from Washington, D.C., who also spend Thanksgiving with us every year.
Right.
One family is Colombian American, the other family is American American.
Hmm.
And in the beginning, when we started celebrating with them, like they used to make everything and they used to let me bring, like, oh, a salsa or a
Right.
dessert. And I always wanted to make the turkey. And they were
Yeah.
like, no, no, don't mess with our turkey. Finally, in Mexico, of course, we don't have Thanksgiving, but
Right.
we eat turkey for Christmas and for New Year's.
Ah,
So
okay.
in this book, I have one of my favorite turkeys, which has, it's very traditional to have an adobo rubbed turkey.
Uh-huh.
In my past cookbook, I had a Yucatecan style turkey with achiote. That is the one that I've been bringing every year to
Right.
Thanksgiving. But this year, I'm bringing this one. It's an adobo coated turkey. And this adobo, which is made with candied pineapple. So you
Ooh.
puree pineapple and you cook that with piloncillo or dark brown sugar. And once it starts turning into caramel, you add an adobo. So,
Oh.
I mean, it's so
And
delicious.
then rub that on the turkey before?
So I marinate the turkey for a few days
Okay.
in that adobo. It's a wet,
Whoa.
like a
Like
thick
a wet
wet
brine almost.
marinade.
Right.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's like a thick wet marinade, and
Okay.
then marinated in that, and then I make a stuffing, which is also in this new book,
Ooh, nice.
which has cashews, chorizo,
Ooh.
heart fruit, and I'm an inside stuffer. I know some people are
Right.
really against stuffing turkey. I have to confess, I prefer eating the stuffing of the turkey
I
to
do
the
too.
turkey.
I do too.
But only if the stuffing is cooked inside of the turkey, because then it cooks with the juices of the
Right.
broth of the adobo.
Right.
Um, so I do that turkey. I'm gonna do this turkey for the first time this
Oh, that's
Thanksgiving.
great.
So we just do Thanksgiving with our friends, and everybody brings something. And I think that Thanksgiving is really the perfect occasion for families like ours who came from somewhere else, who are now part of this country,
Right.
because there's traditions that must continue, but within those traditions there's an opening for, yeah, we want cranberry sauce, but you can bring your spin on yours,
Right, exactly. That's why I was asking, because living in Southern California, there was to make it just purely the northeast of the United States, that version of Thanksgiving, it didn't seem right. Like it seemed like
Yeah,
there's some basics from my childhood, of course, I hold on to, but it was
yeah,
like, what other things can I add to it? And I started looking into it over the last couple of years, and there's
yeah.
so many twists on. I mean, just this cranberry sauce with jalapenos
Ah,
and ginger, and it was just like there's just so many variations of it that I feel like that should be on the table if you're in Southern
yeah.
California with the sun out.
I know. This turkey I tested, I really wanted to give the best version of an adobo turkey in this cookbook. And I tested with so many adobos because they are like the basics of adobos, but I really wanted to make a tropical Veracruz style adobo. I tested so much
Right.
that I tested even with, because there's so many times that you can make turkey when it's
Yeah.
February, and
Right.
Thanksgiving. So I started testing with chicken, and Juju, who's here with me, really started liking the adobo rub chicken stuffed in the style of Thanksgiving. He started requesting it, ¿verdad, Juju?
Ah. Oh, that's really smart. Oh man,
Yeah.
this is so good. Well, I love that your book is called Treasures, because
Yeah,
that's what just seeing some of the photography, it really does seem
no,
like it's treasures.
I was gonna tell you another thing for Thanksgiving that I'm planning to make this year, and I'm looking for the here 336. This is so just like you have, more contemporary classics.
Mm-hmm.
This was fascinating to me when I was researching and traveling for this book. There are pre-Hispanic dishes that come from the times like before the Spanish arrived to Mexico
Right.
that have been made. There's this dish that's made with green beans, which I think is one of my favorite dishes in the entire book. Look at this.
Really?
It's called chulibul, and it's green beans
Oh boy.
that are cooked in a corn puree. Like you just take fresh corn or thawed corn from frozen, and you
Right.
puree the corn just with fresh epazote leaves, which you can get in California
Right.
in many places, or you can change for cilantro. And yeah, no, no. Juju, can you come say hi? You can only interrupt if you come say hi to Tom.
Yeah. Hi. Nice to
Oh,
see
yeah.
you.
Yeah, nice to
Juju,
meet
tell Tom if you like my green beans.
you. I love your green beans.
I'm gonna make these because green beans are always part of our Thanksgiving, and this would be a good place
Tom
to
is in
twist it up.
California. Tom has a really cool podcast.
With
So
really cool
anyway,
guests.
so it's the green beans you cook in this corn puree sauce
Mm-hmm.
just until they're crunchy, and then you top them with this chunky cooked tomato sauce that's not spicy, it's just chunky
Oh,
tomatoes, and
right.
then you top that with toasted pumpkin seeds. So
Ooh,
the flavor of this dish is insane. It's like a little velvety, a little sweet, a little acid from the tomatoes, then nutty from the pumpkin seeds. And it's like if somebody had shown you this dish, you would think,
yeah.
oh, some Mexican modern chef came up with a vegan dish, but this is pre-Hispanic from Campeche, from the
Jeez.
Yucatan Peninsula. This is a dish that has been made for not hundreds, but thousands of years. And they used to
Amazing.
make it in pots
Mm-hmm.
where they would add the ingredients, tomato and beans or squash and the
Right.
pumpkin seeds, and they would heat a rock until it was smoldering hot, and then they would throw it into the pot, and that's how the ingredients would go. And of course, I've
Jeez.
adapted that recipe so that you can make it in a sauté pan. But
I don't need a rock.
fascinating thing that in the classics of Mexican cooking, you find dishes like these that are pre-Hispanic. You
Amazing.
find moles and chiles en nogada that come from the colonial times, which are very baroque. And then you find dishes that are from like the 1950s, 60s, 70s, 80s,
Right, right.
like the pasta
Amazing.
seca. So really amazing.
Oh, that's amazing. All right, if I'm going to travel to Mexico just as a food vacation,
Mm.
where would be the next spot to go? Where am I landing?
No doubt in my mind, you have to go to Mexico City.
Okay.
Yeah, it's
Um,
Mexico City. Many people confuse Mexico City as a stopover or layover. You
Right.
get to Mexico City because it has the main airport, and then you go to the beach, or then you go to any other place.
Yeah. Yeah.
Mexico City is, I think, I mean, of course, I have not traveled the entire world, but I've traveled a lot,
Mhm.
for work and research, etc. And um, I think Mexico City is, in my mind, the most fascinating city I've ever been to. It has a mix
Really?
of old and new. It has a really rich fabric of culture and art and history and fashion and
Right.
food. You get like the super modern Enrique Olvera, who is an icon of Mexican cooking, and has amazing restaurants there, and they're modern and
Wow.
almost molecular, and then
Right.
you have the taquerias and the street food stands, and you also have a representation of the entire republic, because Mexico City is such an important center for the country that it really attracts people from all over the country. So they open up, Puebla restaurants, Yucatecan
Right.
restaurants, Norteño restaurants, seafood restaurants. You find everything there. Like if you can only go to one place,
Yeah, exactly.
Mexico City, no doubt in my mind.
All right, I'll do it for sure.
Yeah.
Before I let you go, after doing Fronteras and are you hopeful for the future for that area, or
Yes,
did you
I
come
am.
away more concerned?
No, I came away so inspired and so hopeful. People there just are resilient and creative and make it work against all odds. And
Yeah.
if they can, so can we. And rather than thinking, oh, how can we fix the border problem? It's like, let's go to the borderlands and meet the communities there and see how they make it work. They
Right.
rely on each other. There's so much trade and business. And it's not only like, oh, yay, we like each other's culture. It's like
Right.
there's a lot happening that is enriching both countries. So I'm very hopeful.
Right.
We just have to have more microphones, there so that we can hear more of those stories.
Well, you're doing a great job. I mean, honestly, as a grown person, to learn so much just from watching your show, more than all of my education,
No,
it really is I hope you continue making all of them. They're really so great. And
thank
thank
you
you for the
so
green
much.
beans. You just made my Thanksgiving.
That's amazing. Thank you so much.
All right, we'll see you next time. Make sure you
Thank you.
come back on you. It seems like you have enough recipes for another cookbook probably within a couple of weeks.
My
So,
gosh. Anytime. I will come back anytime. Yes.
all right, take care.
Thank you.
Well, that's it for Patty. I told you she was special. Don't you want to just go and watch her shows and read her books and just spend more time with her? I'm so grateful that she came on. Pati Jinich, her show on PBS is La Frontera, and her book is The Treasures of Mexico. Look it up wherever books are sold. Go to tompapa.com, look up my tour dates. I'm running all over the place. I'm going up to Vermont this weekend, and I'm also going to Massachusetts. That might be sold out. Then I'm going to Port Washington and Long Island. We've got Tarrytown, New York. That's going to be a big show. We've got Tyler, Texas. We've got a whole bunch of shows coming up. Go to tompapa.com and look it all up. Thank you so much. Take my advice on Thanksgiving. It's a fun thing to do. Don't decorate for Christmas yet. Don't get crazy. See you next time.